think that's better. Who knows?
We'll find out.
Yep.
When it's too late.
Yep. Perfect. What could go wrong?
All right. Should we start?
We should.
Okay. 5 count. 5, 4. I went to that backwards. I can't do just this one, though.
No, I can't either.
5, 3.
5, 2, 4, 1. What is happening?
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello.
What?
Hi, friends, and welcome to the Activity Continues podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Amy.
And I'm Megan.
Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you already know what we do here. We recap the TV show The Dead Files, and we also talk about podcasts and other TV shows and other paranormal things, including listener stories.
So please send us your story if you've got one.
Send them if you got them.
Send them if you got them.
This week, Megan is going to be recapping the Dead Files episode House of Horrors, which is season 3, episode 10. And it originally aired June 3rd, 2014. And what made you choose this one?
I got really scientific on it. And I asked Siri, and I told Siri to pick a number between 1 and 14, and then 1 and 14 again. And it was such a good one, though. Oh my God, I love it so much.
Good. This will be fun. Yeah, I like I said, I had seen them all at one point. And so when you said that, this one, I was like, that doesn't sound familiar. And I turned it on to watch it. And then I was like, oh, I remember part of it. And when we get there, I'll tell you what part it is I remember. But I did not remember the whole thing. And I did not rewatch the entire thing again this time. So I don't know. I'm not going to know.
So I started watching it at work over my lunch break because I walk on a treadmill sometimes. And I was trying to be proactive and not save my notes until the last minute. Spoiler alert, I 100% saved them until last night. So very last minute. But I was literally like gasping out loud and my jaw, like I was texting Amy. I'm like, my jaw just literally dropped. Like, I'm glad there wasn't anybody else where I was working out because they would be like, what the fuck is wrong? She's on a treadmill. It is not that enjoyable. Like, what are you?
If treadmills were that much fun, probably more people would do it, right?
It's just so boring. Like, blah, I'm just going to walk. But at least with a treadmill, like you could choose to stop. If you walk outside, you can't stop.
Well, you can only wait until you get home. You know?
Right, exactly. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm fucking done with this. Like, you're not. You're in the middle of the park.
Exactly.
Good luck getting back home.
Yep.
Uber.
So one thing very important that we need to cover is that we have a new patron.
I know.
Zoe.
Oh my God, she's in England.
Yes. She's from Bradford, West Yorkshire. This is her message that she sent on Patreon. You guys, hi guys. I'm from Bradford, West Yorkshire in England. I'm loving your show so much. It's helping me with traveling on a daily basis to take my son to school and back, and you guys are doing an amazing job.
Zoe.
Yay.
We're doing an amazing job.
Yeah. Wow. I hope her kid's not listening to it, unless she doesn't care if her kid hears lots of swears.
Here's lots of swears, because I don't know if you picked up on this. We occasionally throw out a bird that we're not supposed to say.
That's true.
So
it is true.
Zoe, thank you so much. We love that you found us in England. We're so happy. We're so happy that you found us, and thank you so much for your patronage, because it really means a lot to us.
It does. It helps a lot.
You're the best.
The best. So, look, if anybody else wants to join, there's a link in the show notes, and I guess that's
all.
That's all we got for there. Anything happening personally that we should discuss?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm sure there's something, I just can't remember it. I mean, I guess if it was super, special, it'd pop out in my mind. So
I suppose.
Not that I know of. How about you? What's going on in the old GV of Minnesota?
Not much is going on here. But last night we were at JJ's bar near us, and they started closing. They put like crime tape over the men's bathroom, and I'm like, someone must have had an accident or something. And then no, they closed it. The drain was backing up. Then the drain in the women's bathroom backed up.
Oh,
yeah. I had to change my sound here. Then
it's a lot of drains backing up.
Then the kitchen drain backed up, and they were like, "We have to close."
No shit.
Yeah, they're like, "We can't."
That's not good.
No, and it's because they're doing construction next door. They knocked down a building and they're redoing something next door, and so we're like, "Oh shoot! Oh well." The bartender gives us one more drink and says, we got to go after this one," and almost everybody left except for the people that got an extra drink, and then about halfway through our last drink, they came back and said, "We're back. Everything's fixed."
Perfect. Just goes to show you that drinking more is good.
Yeah, and just stick it out because we had the place to ourselves.
Yeah.
It was awesome, like 2 other groups. And then it got a little crowded by the time we were leaving, but, it was kind of nice.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it all day long.
Right.
All day long.
All day long. Oh, that reminds me. I have a show recommendation. I don't believe I've mentioned this to you.
I mean, even if you did, the odds are I forgot it. So it's not.
Sorry.
You could have told me 5 times and tell me again. And I'd be like, oh my God, you've never told me that. Like, Megan, it's literally tattooed on your body. Like Memento. I'm the guy from Memento.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
Oh my God, it was so good. Okay, pretty sidebar.
Yeah.
So I had this professor in college who taught, obviously he's a professor, he taught English, and he showed us that movie. And if you've never seen the movie, the last 5 minutes of the movie explains everything. He talked. He was silent the entire movie. And then he fucking started talking the last 5 minutes when they're explaining the whole movie.
What? What was he talking about?
I don't fucking know. I was too busy being angry / attracted to him because he was hot. But he smoked so much that his fingers were yellow.
Gross.
It was real gross. Look, God, he was so hot.
Well, and an idiot, it sounds like.
And where they were explaining everything in Memento, this dumb shit started talking. Anyways, sorry, I digressed us.
That's okay.
Tell me the
TV. So it's called The Bear, and
I've heard of it, and I want to watch it because it's got Lip from Shameless, and I loved Shameless.
I didn't see Shameless.
Oh, it's on HBO. It's pretty good. It's got Lip. I forget it is the guy in the show. Starts with a J something. Emmy Rossum was in it. William Macy is in it.
Okay, yeah, I knew. I've seen ads for it.
It's so good. You would love it. I've heard really good things about that show.
It's super, super good. Friday. It was Friday. We'd gone out on Thursday night and ran into some friends who are a very bad influence on us, and we stayed out way too late.
Was coming.
I was not on Friday morning. And so I laid on the couch and watched that entire series. I laid there for 9 hours.
They're only 30 minutes long, right?
They're a little longer than that. They might be 40, 45. Okay. But I blew through the whole thing. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Really good. Yeah. It's about the reason I thought of it is when you said all day. It takes place in a restaurant. And so there's the head chef or the owner, and then the other people that work there, and they say they were doing a countdown of what they had on hand, like how many desserts do we have to sell today, and so they say
4 shrimp all day.
Yeah, they say all day, and I was like, what does that all day mean? And I looked it up, and it just means that's what we have for the day.
That's what we have for the day.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
So
yeah, I want to see that show because it does look really good.
It's really, really good. You'll be hooked, I'm sure. I'm sure. Fascinated. And I've always been fascinated in how restaurants and bars work. I don't understand how they can possibly know how many people are going to come and how they know how much food to have and all of that. It blows my mind that they can plan for that. And a group of 20 comes in and they're fine, where I would lose my shit if 20 people came over to my house and wanted to eat. So
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me how that stuff runs. So I particularly liked it.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, it looked really good. I've
Super
heard,
good.
like you said, I've heard nothing but good things about it. So
Yeah. Okay. So
one content warning, once we get a little bit into the crime, there was a rape or a sexual assault.
Yeah.
So just to let you guys know, it's not really talked about in much detail.
No.
But it is mentioned. So
yeah.
But then again, we just mentioned it now, so.
So I mean,
I don't really get when you do a content warning because it's like you're saying all the words anyway. But
I do, because now, ever since having my son, I cannot listen to anything about child death. So if they do a content warning ahead and they're like, this does contain child death, then I won't listen to it.
Yeah. But like for the amount of, well, like you said, there all that really, unless I'm missing something, all that really gets talked about rape is just that somebody had committed a couple rapes 20 years ago. And that's really all they say. They don't describe it or anything. So I don't think.
I will say if the episode is about child death, then I don't listen to it. If it's the majority of the episode.
Yeah.
But if they just touch on it, like when they talk about like, in the history 4 kids died, that's not as bad as, like Dear Zachary or something.
Oh my God.
Well, that's a tough one to say.
Oh my
that was
God.
like the worst of the worst. But
every time someone says, what's the saddest movie you've ever seen, it pops right into my head.
I can't even watch it. I can't. I don't. TCO did an episode on it, I think. I couldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do this because it's just terrible.
It's really, really, really tough.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Should we jump right in?
We'll jump right in. I'm exactly like Amy said, I'm the one presenting today, and this one was so. I think it's my favorite so far, to be completely honest. So we're in Radford, Virginia, and I almost said, "Oh my God, a rape happened there." Well, no fucking shit. The reason I know about it is because of this fucking episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah, somebody was murdered there. You think? Never mind.
I noticed when I was doing looking up some of the stuff on the crime that Crime Junkie did an episode on the victim we're about to talk about.
Here did an episode on the crime too.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I saw it then because I've seen all of it.
You probably did. Yeah.
I just don't remember it. I'll have to go look for it.
Yeah. So really quick up front. So like I said, we're in Radford, Virginia, and Steve and Marcel's the client, and she called and Steve and Amy because she's got a sanatorium that she purchased and she wanted to redo it, like revamp it and make it into a museum. And when I was talking to Amy earlier, I was like, it's a sanatorium or sanitarium. And I was like, I don't know the difference. And so Amy looked it up. And the words are interchangeable between sanatorium and sanitarium. So it's sanatorium, sanitarium. So it's just a little different. However, sanitarium is primarily a North American word. But the difference between their words is their origin, though not much of a difference. So the word sanatorium is derived from the late Latin word sanatorius, which means health giving. So essentially they're the same thing. Sanitarium is really just associated with North America. So that's where we're at right now. And so he's talking to Marcel. They're standing in a room and he's kind of like, yo, what's going on? Why are we here? And so she said, I bought this place. I wanted to convert it into a museum about the sanatorium. And also she wants to put a research library into it. So she's got really good ideas. It's huge. It's 68,000 square feet. Holy shit.
That is huge.
I feel like this is bigger than the one you did in Wisconsin where the woman bought the insane asylum.
Yeah, for her.
And she was like, my family's going to live here.
Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of why they bought it. She bought it with this goal in mind. So Steve has asked her what's happened. Oh, you guys, a lot has happened here that I've never really even heard of. It's, you've got your typical hair pulled, visitors have left with scratch marks on their body, people seeing apparitions, but then people have also been picked up and thrown.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like these are really powerful spirits. because they can pick them up and throw them. And we actually interview somebody that's had that happen to them. So they're hoping that Steve and Amy can find a solution and they can get this going because they don't want people injured. It's all volunteers that help with them. And so they actually have had events there to pay for restorations. Weddings have been there. Tour groups have been there. They've done a couple paranormal investigations. So there's a lot going on. Like, it's not just sitting vacant for people to, while they wait to restore it. They're doing stuff to get it restored.
Yeah.
So they go into the basement, which, as we all know, is never a good place to start. So this is where Marcel had one of her first experiences. And to me, this was very terrifying because essentially a volunteer was jumped. She said she went into a trance. She said that this person was speaking, but her words were very jumbled, very garbled. They weren't making any sense. So Steve asked if they did anything to help her come out of it. And of course, they read scriptures to her because that's what everybody goes to.
Sure.
They said it took over an hour for her to come out of this trance.
Wow.
An hour. That's so long. That's a very powerful spirit to stay in somebody for an hour.
Yeah.
Usually it's just a few seconds and then they're kicked out.
Yeah.
Also, Marcellus heard a woman scream at her. Not when they were open for business. So, Steve was like, is there anybody around? And they were closed.
Was it the dog?
Happening. It wasn't the dog. Nobody was boozing. Even Steve asked, was the girl on medication? And nope, she wasn't boozing. She wasn't on meds.
No booze.
So then nobody's boozing, except maybe you, Steve. Then we meet Don, who's her husband. Now this is like, you guys, so much has happened here and it's just crazy. So they meet in a bowling alley, which Steve was like, this is crazy. Like, there's a fucking bowling alley in here. And basically it was created to be a reward for good behavior in the patients. And Don had his first experience in the bowling alley and it was terrifying. So basically he said a large white mist came through the door behind him, went down the bowling alley and then turned right and went through a wall. The scariest incident he's got a pacemaker. And Marcel later in the show says that this pacemaker is set to beat 60 times per minute. He all of a sudden he was in the bowling alley. He got short of breath, very dizzy. His pacemaker was beating at 133 beats per minute. Blood pressure was 164 over 112.
Oh,
not good.
No,
very not good.
That's really
bad.
And
the doctors had no idea what happened. His pacemaker, his heartbeat was beating over 2 times a second.
Jeez. I can't even imagine what that would feel like.
I mean, when you work out, your heart rate picks up. So it's essentially like he was working out, just standing there.
That's scary.
Terrifying.
That's really scary.
So then we get to Chuck, who is a security guard and prior law enforcement. So he has had 2 really insane incidents. So he was standing on a lower step. He was told to meet somebody there. So he was standing on this lower step, felt himself levitate. He said it felt like he became weightless and he was thrown to the floor, like something picked him up and threw him. He said he felt something gripped him, like it really had a hold of him. So he was picked up and thrown from the steps onto the floor, like to the door. So quite a good distance. I mean, not like 30 feet, but for a spirit to pick somebody up and throw them.
And he's a big dude.
He's a big dude. He's taller than Steve.
Yeah.
He's taller than Steve and he's bigger than Steve.
He's really wide shouldered.
It's muscle. He's just a broad dude.
Yeah.
So that was big. And then a second incident kind of similar. So he had left the gift shop, was going down the stairs. He said he got to the 6th stair. He was going up the stairs. He got to the 6th stairs and he saw an apparition standing at the top of the stairs. He said you could see the muscles in this thing's chest. Like it was very defined.
Ugh.
And then he said he was picked up and thrown over the staircase.
Jesus.
Over the staircase. I'm going to say that again.
Over the staircase. Yeah.
Like
that's the part when I saw that guy, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this now. But I didn't remember anything else about it. But I do remember them talking about that big dude.
Bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
holy
shit. That's a powerful spirit to be able to do that to anybody, let alone a 6 foot plus guy.
Right.
So Steve asked if he was hurt. at all? And he said, no, he wasn't hurt, but he was shaken up. Yeah, I'd say so. And then there's a sound clip that said it felt like a bear got a hold of me. It was that much strength that had grabbed him.
I can play that.
Okay.
I did get the sound clips.
Like a bear got a hold of. Just that much.
Yeah, I heard it. Yes. So, I mean, I would never go there. So then we go to the boiler room, and this is another very active place. Chuck has said he's seen a face several times. He said it's a round face. He said it's a very big man, like just the size of the face. It would belong to a big person. And when he says big, I think what he means is heavier. And Steve was like, does he know you're looking at him? Is he maybe just, appearing, not realizing he's there? And Chuck said, no, he knows you're looking at him. So they had I mentioned earlier, they did paranormal investigations. So they had an investigation going on, and he said an investigator was hit between the breastbone. So I'm assuming on her clavicle, she was hit so hard that she bruised.
Oh.
And the team said that the bruise was there for almost 2 weeks.
Jeez.
That's a big fucking bruise. That's a deep bruise. That's a serious bruise. Drinking game. Anytime I say bruise, drink. Because there's 3 right there.
Lots of them.
And then women are also touched inappropriately in this room, which is really bad. He talks about how women aren't allowed in there alone because whatever's in there just goes to women and like drains them. And AD's got a sound clip for that.
Yep. Here's it.
They find usually the woman who has the weakest emotions. Okay. And they just start there. Just drain them.
Yeah. So it's not good. It's not good in there. So there's activity everywhere. It's not just confined to one area, the basement, one room. It's all over the place. Super, super active. So then we go to a psychiatrist because this was a sanatorium. And so, Steve said, I'll start there. And so we meet with David Scheiderer. I even wrote it phonetically too. Scheiderer. Yeah.
Scheiderer.
So, Miles, what was his name? I wrote it later on. Professor George Miles started the school. He purchased the property, I believe, in 1892. He purchased it. Started St. Albans School. Basically, was a preparatory school, and the goal was to train them to train boys to be good gentlemen and be put on track to go to a university. So then it actually, after that, it was bought in 1911. It closed in, hang on, I'm all over the place. Back up. So Professor George Miles started the school, I believe, in 1892. He was an educator and a businessman, and he married into a wealthy family. So that's how he had all this money, he got it from his wife. He started St. Albans to be a prep school for boys. So essentially to train them to be good gentlemen and go on track to go to a university. When we meet with Scott Gardner, a historian, Steve asks him, well, what kind of person was George Miles? And Scott said, well, that depends on who you ask. He had a reputation for being a very respectable person, but he also was very scheming, abrasive, money hungry, wanted more money. So his business interests took him away from the school in 1902, and basically the school kind of floundered once he left, and in 1904 it shut down. In 1905, Professor Miles found liver cancer within him and basically died within 2 months of liver cancer.
Oh my God, that's quick.
Yeah, it was really quick. But, this is 1904. It's not like they have, the technology we do to fight it.
Right.
We do touch on that a little bit later. So then we move to 1911, and Dr. John C. King bought the facility as a sanatorium / a freestanding private hospital. Now, they would bring patients in here, as we all, I'm sure, are aware. Psychiatry in the early 1900s, not great.
A little sketchy.
So people would come here with treatments ranging from exhaustion, depression, drug abuse, all the way to your more serious, schizophrenia, psychosis, and everything in between. So treatments were great. Cold wraps, lobotomies, and electroshock therapy, which we all know is just the best. It's just great. Everybody loves it. So they had this machine called the Mighty Mouse machine, and this sounds horrific. They would basically wheel this from room to room. No anesthesia would be given to the patients. They would administer an electrical current to induce a seizure. What the goal was of this, I am not sure. Not great. I don't want to know. But then they had a video. So the doctor had a video that he was showing Steve, and no, it was awful.
Yeah.
It showed people. We'll have a clip of it in the video and then also on our socials, but they were being held down they were having seizures. They were inducing. Oh, I can't.
Yeah. It's crazy what this
It's
stuff
really
that they did. No pun intended.
Helping.
But yeah. Well, and
that was good.
and like the lobotomies, you've seen that, right? Where they put the needle right in the eye and bang on it.
Oh, thank you.
Blah.
Yeah. So, Steve was like, okay, a facility such as this size, 68,000 feet, would had to have thousands of patients over the year. And he asks if there were any deaths there. And Dr. Scheiderer he said he found 10 people who died. But he said that's a gross underrepresentation.
Yeah.
And Steve asks if they had a morgue. And he said, yes, they did. And Steve said, you don't have a morgue for 10 people.
Yep.
You don't build a morgue for 10 people. Right. I'm sure 10 people alone died probably in 1 week from fucking lobotomies.
Right.
And if they were successful, well, fuck that. Like, yeah, it was not great.
Yeah.
Not great.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like,
I used to play a video game that took place in a sanatorium.
Fun.
And you could in the audio, you could hear like people screaming and stuff. It was really creepy.
I wonder if they took that. No, I would hope that they wouldn't take that from an actual sanatorium.
I hope
they
not.
just had people screaming.
Yeah, I hope so.
That got real dark. So then we go on our investigation. We go digging through old record. Is what he said. And guess what we find? We find a murder.
Yay.
So June 28th, we're talking to Lieutenant Wilburn. And so on June 28th of 1980, we meet Gina Hall. She was 18. She wanted to go dancing. She was enrolled at Radford University in Virginia. She was living with her sister. Exams were coming up. And exams had just finished. I think her last exam was June 28th. And so she wanted to celebrate. She met a guy named Stephen Epperly, who was 28 years old. He talked her into going to a lake house that one of his friends owned. So investigators think he made advances to her. She rejected him and he snapped. And so there's a sound clip that says, we believe that he went totally ballistic and killed her.
Yeah.
We believe that he just went totally ballistic and killed her.
And my first thought was, oh, so he was just a regular man who's not used to being told no. And when he is told no, he fucking snaps. So just a normal man then. But they go on to talk about him and Epperly, he was a charmer. So he was known to have a violent temper, and he was also charged with a couple of rapes before this. What? Of course he was. Why would we keep somebody in jail who has a violent temper and has raped before? I don't know. I can't think of a good reason.
It blows my mind.
I listened to this, and like I said, I was on the treadmill, and I'm saying out loud, I'm like, a fucking course.
Yeah.
He gets life in prison, so yay for that. He's still alive, by the way. We'll go into that, but he's still alive. The body was never recovered. It was the first case in Virginia where somebody was convicted without a body. To this day, The whole body hasn't been recovered yet.
Mhm.
Some people think that the body is in the lake because remember they were at a lake house.
Mhm.
Some people think it was buried on the property of the sanatorium.
Mhm.
But basically she's still out there.
Didn't Steve say, or didn't whoever he was talking to, I don't remember if it was this guy or somebody else, say that Epperly worked at the sanitarium?
Yes. So
Or they
I did.
thought
I
he
can't.
did?
You might have seen that in my notes. I think they thought that he did, but I also found I found in my notes that he was actually a teacher working at the university.
Oh.
I only saw that in one place.
Okay.
So I can't confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I found a lot of different and I looked for so ahead.
No, I was just going to say, do we want to talk more about what we both discovered now, or do you want to do that after you're done with what happened on the show?
Oh, we can do it now. Yeah. It's
Okay.
up to you.
Okay.
You know what? Let's do it after.
Okay.
That way it'll be easier for you to potentially cut out because I'm assuming this will be Patreon content.
Maybe. Yeah. We could do it that way.
So, yeah. So some people believe that the body's still in the lake, but it's never fully been recovered.
Mhm.
So then we get to Amy, and Amy arrives, and she said there's a lot, and she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know it was a sanatorium. She doesn't know it was a school for boys. You know, obviously, like they try to do. She doesn't know anything.
Mhm.
She said there's layers and layers of people here. There's a lot of people here. And she also said there are 4 women who don't want to be there anymore, but they can't leave.
Mm-mm.
This was a really hard walk for her. She actually was not able to finish it. We'll get to it.
Wow.
So we go into the basement, and she said the dead people who live here who are here, not live here, but the dead people who are here, they don't want to be bothered. She said living people shouldn't be here. She said the dead people are pissed off and they're exhausted. And she said there's a sound clip of her saying they feel so tired. She also has a woman run up to her screaming. The woman is very panicked. The woman says it's time to go. And the women, she said living people would feel panicked. They'd feel like something really bad is going to happen to them. And they'd feel like you need to leave. So just very anxious, not a good way to be. And then Matt asks her, do you think people could live here? And Amy says, no, I wouldn't live here. And she says, let the dead have it.
Do you think people could live here?
The pair. I don't think it's healthy. Dead habit. People should be here.
Yeah. So that's pretty telling when Amy says, let the dead have it. Like, no. She did say that ghosts have a quiet area. And I didn't put a location here because I couldn't tell. They moved around so much.
Yeah.
And it's not
everything's dark and
and it's not like a normal house. Like here's the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen. So I just kind of made a bunch of notes about Amy's walk. So she said the ghosts have a quiet area, and she sees a man who sees himself as the ghost protector. And he's really getting frustrated because he's trying to set up a safe zone for the ghosts. And he's really upset that Amy's there. And he tells Amy that he'll make her sick if she doesn't leave. And Amy says he's capable of quite a bit because Matt asks, do you think he's capable of that? And she said, yeah, he's capable of quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He projects himself as a tall white male. She said he feels young, but he's very, very old. And then she said he's not happy with me and he doesn't want Amy to talk about him. So she kind of stops talking about him because, he doesn't want her to. Then we meet a new guy. He tells Amy to call him Uncle. She said he's a very big guy, and she said he's kind of pervy. She said he touches women's hair, and she doesn't think it stops at the hair. She's like, I don't think it stops at the hair, if you know what I mean. We know what you mean, Amy.
We get it.
I know what you mean. She said when she first arrived, she saw 4 people at the top in windows that are like banging on the window and they want to get out and they can't leave because Uncle's trapped them and he won't let them leave. He felt that he was very into money and keeping them in there will get him more money, which if it is John C. King, and I can't remember who it is at the end, but sanatorium, you make money with people are in there.
Yep.
I mean, you can't bill somebody if they're not in there.
Right.
So another sound clip where she says he's flooded this place with nastiness.
I have that one too. I had the other one too.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
She's you with money. Like, if he keeps them in there, he'll get more money. He's flooded this place with just nastiness.
Yeah, he's not a good dude.
Mm-mm.
So she gets confused because she sees people dressed in suits. So she says very professional people. And she said she hears somebody saying they suffered emotional trauma, like very dramatically talking about this trauma. And she said there's so much commotion going on, just banging on the walls, ghosts wanting to leave, people coming up to her. She just says it's just very chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
She hears a female ghost go, "Ooh, it's a processing plant. They process you." Probably not in that voice. I just made it fun for myself.
Well, here's how Amy said it.
There's some like me. She's like it's a processing. Let's see. The guy says, "Oh, don't talk to the nurse."
So yeah. So remember, she doesn't know what's going on with, like, she doesn't know the history. So then we get to another section of the sanatorium, and all of a sudden her feet and hands are burning. She said she gets very shaky and it really hurts. And then a female comes up to her, and the female is very scared. She's shaking, and the female feels like she's burning. Then Amy says she sees a group of people sitting on the floor, like a big heap of people covered up. She said it's a mess. I mean, there's ghosts all over this place. I mean, everywhere she turns, there's a new ghost.
I'm thinking the burning thing is probably from the shock therapy, because a lot of times that their skin would burn wherever they had the things on there.
Yeah, because there's fucking electricity going in there. Yeah, she talks about that. They talk about that in the reveal.
Oh, okay.
So then we go outside, and she sees the man who calls himself Uncle. She said he's in charge, super wealthy. She says he was the start of this place.
Mm-hmm.
She said it started with good intentions, and then it went bad. She said he's in his 40s. He appears in his 40s. He's bald, pale, and he feels guilty. He's dying, and feels really guilty. So I believe, now that I'm reading this, I believe that is Professor Miles. Because remember, he started
with the kidney disease.
Yep, and he got the liver cancer. So yeah,
liver. Yeah,
it's him. Body parts are body parts.
They're all
do the same thing. Yeah. So then we go back to the boiler room. She sees there's something with a female in this room. She said an older man is with the female and he's messing with her. She said he was trying to kiss her and it went bad. She said at first it was teasing and then it wasn't teasing. He got mad at her. He punches her, and then she sees the woman being assaulted. I'm assuming it's a sexual assault, but it could be just physical. Now we get to where something jumps her, and Amy says something is really wrong. I'm not alone inside of my body. And then a voiceover of Amy talking about this experience and talking about being jumped. And she said this person who jumped her is not the only person or not the only spirit that can do this to living people. She said there are a lot of spirits here who can jump people. And Amy said she can't finish the walk. She said she's afraid for her safety. And then she talked about in the voiceover, and I can't remember if I put this in my notes. It took her, I did. It took her 6 to 8 hours to get rid of her.
Jeez.
The spirit was with her for 6 to 8 hours. Like, for somebody as skilled as Amy is, to take 6 to 8 hours to get out of her, that had to have been a powerful person.
That was a fight.
A powerful spirit, yeah.
Yep.
Amy talks about how she was screaming in the car and crying in the car, and I can't imagine what it feels like to know that something else is inside of you and not be able to get it out.
You must feel like you're going crazy.
Oh, you must.
It's
just terrible. So then we get to the reveal. We don't do a sketch in this one.
Oh.
Straight to the reveal. Yep. So we're with Marcella and Chuck because Don won't go in the he tries not to go in the sanatorium. because of what happened to his pacemaker. And I can't fucking blame him.
Yeah, I don't blame him either.
I don't blame him at all. So Steve is explaining the situation, Marcella bought this property. She wants to renovate it and turn it into a museum, blah, 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 bloop. So then Amy talks about how she arrived and she was very, very confused. She said there's layers and layers and layers of dead people. She said a lot of the dead are super angry, super pissed, and exhausted. She said a lot of them really don't care for the living.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want them there. So she said the location upstairs, one of the locations upstairs, she said the dead was their quiet area. That's where, we met the spirit who's their leader essentially, and he's trying to enforce the safety zone for the dead, this place that they can go and just be safe and, be alone. And then she said he was white and tall and projecting himself as being younger than he is. Remember, she said that he was looking younger. And he told Amy she has to leave or he'll hurt her. And Steve asks if he has the capacity to hurt people. And Amy said, oh, yeah, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chuck talks about him, being thrown over the railing, talks about what he saw. And then Amy's like, yep, I could see that. Like everything is making sense to her.
Mm-hmm.
Then she said she saw a lot of strange people. This is where she talks about professional people, in suits and, professional attire, and then also people who are lost and out of it. She said she saw old people, and then she talks about the woman who told her this is a processing plant. And that's where Steve goes into detail telling her, well, this used to be a sanatorium, doobie-doobie-doo, people would go here. And so that's probably why you're seeing the professional people, probably the psychiatrists, doctors.
Yeah, the administrative staff
the
too.
Administrative staff.
Yeah,
and
the accountants and all that.
Lost are the patients who are like, basically, in some cases, put there to die, to just be forgotten by their families.
Yeah, it happened a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens as much anymore, but
it still does.
Yeah. When I was working for a company that worked with people with developmental disabilities, they talked sometimes about how there used to be a place like this in Faribault, Minnesota. And I used to go there. My parents, my mom with her dance studio and my dad with his TV stuff, they used to both go there and do shows. So my mom would bring her dancers and they would dance and do their shows for the people who lived there. And then my dad would go and do his little Willie Ketchum thing.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time there and it scared me. The people scared me because they would run after me and yell and, because I was cute and little and blonde and
and curly hair.
Yeah. And so they would take to me sort of, and it freaked me the fuck out.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah. But,
even in a normal setting, some grown up running at you when you're a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was never really explained to me that, what these people were going through or, how to behave or anything. Nobody set me up for it. I didn't know what was going on and I was scared. But when I started working at this place with people that worked with people with developmental disabilities, they talked about Faribault and they called it a warehouse. They said they called it warehousing. They would just put if somebody was born with Down syndrome or something like that, you put them in an institution and
then you forgot about them.
Would maybe go visit them, but maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. Oh God. It's just terrible.
It's awful.
So then, Amy said that she had a difficult time on this walk too. She said she felt like her head was being crushed in. She was having difficulty breathing. She said she saw one young girl who was having seizures and vomiting. And that's when, Steve kind of talks about Mighty Mouse, bringing it in and inducing the seizures. She said, living people who spent a lot of time here would be prone to illness. And that would include Don because he's got the pacemaker.
Yep.
And that's when Marcel says it was set to 60 beats per minute. And she talks about Don's issue and what happened. So an interesting thing is, remember, so we go to the dead. Amy said the dead people feel trapped. They're banging on the windows. And remember when she first got there, she said she saw a bunch of dead people banging on the windows. That's the sketch. And so I sent that over to Amy, and it's It's not scary. It's one of the few sketches I didn't find was scary. It's just very sad.
It's sad.
It's
yeah.
really sad.
And it's also really cool artwork. The art is really good.
I know.
But yeah, it is. It's really sad.
They just want to be free. They want to get out.
Yep.
So she talks about the male that she calls uncle. Remember, started with good intentions, but then she said he's a pervert. She said he likes to do really inappropriate things to women, touch their hair, touch them in other ways. And so that's when Chuck mentions the boiler room and how, women are touched inappropriately in there and they're not allowed to go in there alone. So then we talk about George Miles a little bit and how he started the school. She said she saw a bald man, and he lost all of his hair due to chemo because back then, they had very rudimentary chemo treatments.
Sure.
And so he had lost all of his hair due to chemo. Then we described the crime, the rape, where she said that, she saw a woman being attacked. And that's when Steve talks about the crime and talks about, how Stephen Epperly committed it and what happened to him. He went to jail. Only the first crime in Virginia to occur, to be convicted without a body. So that was a really big thing.
The big deal.
Yeah. So then Amy talked about being jumped, and she said she actually couldn't finish the walk. And even Steve was like, I've never had you not be able to finish the walk before.
Mm-hmm.
And Amy said, yeah, it took 6 to 8 hours to get rid of this person. And then the person the spirit told Amy that there are a lot of dead people who can jump living people. It's not just her.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, the dead can follow living people so they can influence them to make decisions, influence a living to make decision. And Marcella asked if it was possible for someone to be jumped and for it to change them, their demeanor, their life, everything. And Amy said, yeah, it is.
For sure.
And then Marcella thinks that a ghost jumping somebody in her life has changed them. And she had to we don't go into that. It never gets talked about.
Oh.
But so Marcella had to take a break. She was crying. She was really overwhelmed. I don't fucking blame her.
I don't either.
This is a lot to take in, especially if you want to create a museum. You've got 68,000 square feet and shit's happening left and right to your husband, to the volunteer workers, to your friends. Like, that's a lot. So then once she comes back, Steve asks Amy if somebody who had an ailment, would that make them more susceptible to being jumped? And Amy said, oh, yeah, it would. So then Steve said, I think I know who you're referring to. She said, Marcel said people in her own home have been affected. She said people that she knows who are nice have become angry. And that's all we know. That's all we hear. We don't go into more detail.
I'm assuming it's her husband.
Assuming it's Don.
Yeah.
I would assume it's Don.
Because he didn't want to be at the reveal.
No, he didn't want to be at the reveal.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it is him. Yeah. So I don't know. So the big question is, can they still restore this building? And Amy said the building cannot become what Marcella wants with what is going on.
Yeah.
So there are several things she needs to do. Amy says she needs to go into the largest room and do a mass funeral. She said, bring as many holy people as you can, different types of holy people to hit as many religions as possible. So, a priest, pastor, a rabbi, and a monk, just a bunch of different religious people. She said, you're going to need to do this 3 times in 1 month to make sure that everybody can move on.
Wow.
And then she said 1 month after the funeral, you're going to have an exorcism of the entire location.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. And so the text is Marcel is searching for religious leaders willing to help. And the activity continues.
Oh. God, I wonder if she's found help.
I know.
By now. This was a long time ago. But
yeah, 8 years. But
wow.
This was a really, oh man, poor Amy to be jumped and then not be able to get rid of it after 8 hours.
Right.
Oofda.
Oofda is right.
My. In the words of my grandmother would say. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you. We will be back again next week.
Back again with another story.
as long as I get my shit together, because this week is going to be a doozy. This is moving week.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you then.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.